Barack Obama's Democrat socialists have undertaken an historic campaign of undermining the safety, security, and prosperity of the citizens of the United States. In so doing, they have common cause with America's enemies, who would like nothing better than to see our defeat and our people enslaved. So what if I were to tell you there is a group of so-called Republicans in one of the most conservative states in the Union who have been working to make sure these leftists can continue to do great damage to our people? As goes Texas, so goes the nation. A tale that's afflicting far too many other states in our union is the subject of today's guest-driven preamble. Despite the historic and some say traitorous conduct of the Democrat Party for 12 of the last 16 years, so-called Republicans like Speaker Jason White of Mississippi have decided to give Democrats power they didn't earn at the ballot box. Despite the GOP being in the majority in Mississippi, White has appointed Democrats to chair powerful committees. Mr. White used to be a Democrat, you see, but shifting demographics and Democrat anti-Americanism made it impossible to get elected as a Democrat in his district, so he switched parties, but apparently didn't switch ideology. Conservative states in the Union? It's true. In 2009, a man by the name of Joe Straus cobbled together 11 fake Republicans and did a deal with leftists in the Democrat Party so that Democrats and a greedy cabal of Republicans would choose the Texas House Speaker. And since 2009, the Republican Speaker, from Joe Straus to Dennis Bonnen to Dade Phelan, have been approved by leftists in the destructive Democrat Party. Democrats didn't throw their support behind a fake Republican Speaker for nothing. These speakers sold out their voters in an effort to deliver for Democrats and thwart conservative legislation. These men, and I use the term loosely, exploited the trust and the goodwill of the Texas Republican voter to enrich themselves and garner tremendous power. That is until they overreached. As you all know, leftists always do. After the absurd and falsely predicated impeachment attempt of conservative Attorney General Ken Paxton, the majority of Texas voters became hip to what I call the Gang of 11 coup of 2009. In the last party convention, the people of Texas put safeguards in place so that charlatans posing as Republicans couldn't sell out the voting majority in Texas anymore. Rules were adopted. The rules say that the majority will choose their speaker, and only the majority. Rule 44 states that if any so-called Republican breaks the rules, the party will be empowered to kick that politician off the ballot as a Republican. The idea is that you should not be allowed to empower Marxist Democrats and still call yourself and run as a Republican. The GOP, a private organization, has every right to protect its brand. How many of you would want Nancy Pelosi or Chuck Schumer wandering around saying, I'm a Republican, I'm a Republican? Would that not sully and soil those of you who call yourselves Republicans? When the Texas Republicans met to elect a speaker, rounds of voting didn't produce a clear winner. When it became clear that the new Gang of 11 coup poster boy, Dusty Burrows, the Democrats' choice for GOP speaker when he couldn't win, a gang of Democrat-enabling left-wing fake Republicans got up and they left and immediately went off to start colluding with leftist Democrats. This event was confirmed by someone who was there. Representative Brian Harrison confirmed it on the Chris Salcedo radio show.
Well, unfortunately, there were, despite being all grown adults, too many of them threw what I can only be described as a temper tantrum and stormed out of the room when the votes were not going their way. The people who left, and this has been confirmed to me firsthand, so this is not rumor or speculation or gossip. When they left, they almost immediately went and sat down with the leadership of the Democrat caucus in the Texas House to hash out a plan where they could continue what we've had for almost 2 decades, which is a sort of coalition sellout government where far left liberal Democrats are part of the coalition that controls the people's body in the Texas legislature.
Next week, the Texas House will vote for Speaker. Now, by rule, all 88 House Republicans are supposed to vote for the caucus winner. His name is David Cook. But many of these Republicans will vote to give control and power to leftist Democrats, even after watching their own voters suffer all of the death, pain, financial hardship, crime, and degradation of our society, promoted and sponsored by the Socialist Democrat Party for 12 of the last 16 years. What do you call a Republican that votes to give Democrats power they didn't earn? Well, you call that Republican a Democrat. That's all well and good if Democrats are in the majority. But we, the people in Texas and elsewhere around this country, elected Republicans and rejected Democrats' left-wing extremism. If Texas falls, my friends, to leftists, our nation is finished. Right now, Texas serves as the only counterbalance to California, a government that rules that state. For this reason, and for the fact that far too many Republican states are afflicted with these so-called rhinos who are committed to aiding Democrats and thwarting President Trump and the America First agenda. It's time our people outed these betrayers and drove them from office. Democrats have done enough harm to our nation. So-called Republicans shouldn't be helping them do it. For more, let's bring in the conservative chairman of the Republican Party of Texas, Abraham George. Sir, it's good to see you. These Republicans are so desperate to keep Democrats in charge of the Texas House, despite a GOP majority. They are suing you. One of them is encouraging, all you're doing is encouraging all your members to follow caucus rules and support the speaker elected by a majority Republicans. Else, you say that these folks are going to face a conservative primary challenger. They say that constitutes a bribery felony punishable by 2 years in jail. Now, Mr. Chairman, in my mind, that sounds just like what Democrats tried to do to President Trump and what Nicolas Maduro is doing to his political opposition in Venezuela right now. How do you see it?
Well, I see it pretty similar to it because Cody Harris is the person who actually filed this complaint, ethics violation, starting with. And basically what it says, I tried to bribe him. My ask to him was join the rest of the Republicans and elect a Republican speaker. Imagine in a place where time and place where we're living, we cannot even ask our elected representatives to represent us. And that's what's going on. And then this is crazy, but I think TEC has about 5 days to decide what they're going to do with it, and we'll find out on Tuesday.
Yes. According to some, it's a felony now if you insist that Republicans follow the rules. The vote for Speaker is next Tuesday. Regardless of how this vote comes out, I say the Gang of 11 coup launched by Joe Strauss and fake Republicans, it's come to an end. What's your sense of the out to put Democrats in power? Or do you think these rule breakers in the Republican Party are going to find themselves ousted from power?
We did the survey during the primaries. We actually put these on the ballot as well and asked do they want the Republican primary voters, do you want Democrats controlling the Texas House? 82% of them said no. I'm sure the other 18% are the Democrats moving over to the Republican side to, mess with our balance here. So almost everyone in the Republican side goes, well, why am I supporting a Republican if they're going to go put a Democrat in charge and bring in all the Democrat radical ideology along with it? So the people are not going to forgive them, and neither will the party. So our goal is, with the Rule 44, I'm sure you want to talk about that, we have the right to censure these members who are not playing by the rules, supporting the Republican Party's platform and its priorities and getting the conservative agenda move forward. We can censure them. And if you censure them many times, they continue to violate the rules and the party principles. We can tell them, hey, you go run as a Democrat next time because we're not going to put you on ballot.
Yeah.
So ballot access is coming up. And that's what the whole thing.
Yeah, I do want to talk about that because this has been a complaint of conservatives for a long time. And Texas finally did something about it. But not every Republican Party around these once United States is doing this. It's the idea that, hey, I'm going to call myself a Republican, but I'm going to vote just like Nancy Pelosi. I'm going to call myself a Republican, like Mitch McConnell, for example, calls himself a Republican. John Cornyn calls himself a Republican. But all they do is deliver for Democrats. And finally, the Republican Party in Texas anyway, but not every Republican Party is doing this, is standing up and say, look, You can't act like a leftist. You can't act like and vote for Democrat socialist priorities and still call yourself a Republican. Why do you think it's taken so long for the Republican Party to stand up for itself and say, you know, why don't we make Republican mean something again?
Well, the primaries, people will say, okay, we have the primary coming up and we can choose the right person, right? So, and it works. I mean, we replaced 26 Republicans this time around in Texas House. So it does work, but then there is times that, you know, like someone like Cody Harris, who will win by 80% of his district because he's the only one who has $3 million coming in from the Austin lobby groups who can actually fund a primary challenge properly. So the party finally said, well, if this is going to keep happening in our state, and the grassroots who come to the convention, which is about 9,000 people on a given year, they came and said, well, we're done with this, having some of these Republicans run as Republicans and govern as Democrats. We want them to act like Republicans. And it takes a lot of violations for the party to censure somebody. And it takes many censures to get to the place where we're going to say, okay, the ballot access is blocked for you. So it's not a overnight, okay, right, we don't like you. But it takes a lot of work on our side to get somebody off the ballot. But they're scared that they're gonna get there because they're not planning on working with the party. They're not planning on representing their constituents. They're just going to continue to support and empower Democrats in Texas.
Yeah. And that's all a lot of these people who call themselves Republicans, that's all they've been doing. That's all they know how to do is to deliver for Democrats. Last question. I've only got about a minute left. If Dustin Burrows, the Democrats' choice for GOP speaker, is elected, will conservatives in Texas be under any obligation to work with them? Won't this next legislative session be a complete waste, courtesy of those wishing to cater to left-wingers?
I would say yes. We are hopeful that's not going to happen. We're hopeful that David Cook is going to win. This Cody Harris going and filing a criminal charge against the party chairman is made a mess for their group, saying some of their members are saying, well, I don't want to be part of that. I cannot justify this in my district. So we're thinking some of them will come over to our side just because it's one action. But just in case if Dustin Burrows wins, this is going to be a chaotic session for sure. We're expecting it.
Absolutely. And you know what? That's the signal some of these fake Republicans are sending. If you want me to do your will, if you want me to behave as a Republican, oh, that's a felony. Okay, good luck with that. Why don't you run on that for re-election? Abraham George, thank you very much, man. Appreciate the time as always. Good luck out there.